Motherfucks, I have woken up pissed off, wrong side of the bed, you understand me? And I feel like I have woken up in the twilight zone. But that's just not this morning, that's just generally, motherfucks. I feel like I am in the fucking twilight zone. And before you are further confused, let me explain to you what I mean, right? I'm sure many of you have seen the comedy masterpiece, at least by today's standards, of 21 Jump Street, right? One of the movies that really blew it out of the water for me. Like, I thought it was going to be a shitty movie. Turned out to be hilarious in my opinion, right? The best part of that movie is the part where Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, right, go back to high school, right? And Channing Tatum is telling Jonah Hill that you have to put the backpack over one shoulder, right? You got a single strap it, motherfucks. If there was a way to do it with no straps, that's how you would do it. But you have to single strap it. And he goes there with Jonah Hill, and it turns out all these kids are double strapping their backpacks, right? Channing Tatum, who was a popular kid in high school, is like dumbfounded, right? He's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why is it not the way that I remember, right? Jonah Hill, who was a dweeb, is like, wow, like, I really fit in now. And that's really the premise of the first movie, right? The movie is built on that foundation. It flips the roles, right? Like, Channing Tatum's character becomes like the guy who has to go undercover with the geeks, while Jonah Hill goes undercover with the cool kids, right? Which was the opposite of what Ice Cube had expected, you know? And the reason I bring this up is because I feel like fucking Channing Tatum right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here in this world, like I'm sure many of you feel, like I'm sure many people feel at least. You know? I'm out here in this world and everything seems ass backwards, right? Everything is the wrong way. You know what I mean? And that's the way that I see it, motherfucks. And that's why I'm all pissed off. So welcome to this video, which will be dubbed henceforward as, I don't know, Culture Rant 1, we'll call it, right, motherfuckers? Culture Rant 1. Masculinity and men, right? Now, we're going to talk about other little topics in there that pertain to masculinity and men, primarily things that involve women, because let's be real, you know, men and women, we're the fucking same for the most part, right? Like, and the things that are being done to masculinity are also being done to femininity, right? But because the hater is a boy, I'm going to talk about masculinity more, cucks. You understand what I'm saying? So there you have it, right? Let's begin. Just like Channing Tatum, when he walks into that school, I wake up and I think to myself, what the fuck has happened, right? And like I said, not just today, but generally, right? We had these ideals, these things that made men good men. And these things have been prostituted away, right? In favor of horrible qualities that no one really likes, men nor women, right? So, the way that the world used to work was in order to be like achieved and accomplished, right, and recognized as being great, you would actually have to be great, right? You would have to kind of show some sort of ability, attribute, right? Anything, right? That puts you above other people so people can be like, wow, in comparison to the rest of us, this guy's pretty fucking awesome, right? This is the entire phenomenon of the high school athlete, right? High school is probably one of the biggest meritocracies in the world, right? It's like you are what you are in high school. Now, I understand that people obviously change, right? Like, high school is not a great representation of like how people are, but it's a meritocracy, right? Because the shy kids end up being nerds and the confident kids end up being cool and popular, right? Now, the hater wasn't exactly the most popular kid, right? The hater also had these same mentalities when he was in high school many, many years ago, motherfucks. So a lot of people were rubbed the wrong way by me. But so I understand if some of you were thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm pretty fucking cool, but I wasn't really that cool in high school. I get it, motherfucks. Things change. All I'm saying is that high school is a great representation of a meritocracy. And one of the reasons why high school athletes are held in high esteem is not because of this bullshit thing they show in the media. Like, we've all been to high school. You know, like, at least my high school, you know, like, nobody gave a fuck who the quarterback, I don't even know who the quarterback was, right? Nobody gives a shit. But, like, the reason why it's these quarterbacks and these, you know, football stars, whatever the fuck, basketball stars, the reason why these people get some sort of popularity boost is because they have shown themselves to be superior, at least visibly so, to other students, right? It's like, yo, I'm the captain of the football team. Like, out of all these people here that are playing this sport, I'm the number one, right? And it's something that we value overall, athletic achievement. So there you have it. You had to do something great in order to be seen as great. Now, a bunch of Jonah Hills are running around, right? And they're the ones who are dictating what is and is not cool. And here's the problem with that. When people like that decide what's cool and not cool, no cool things happen, right? Because there's people out there that think that it's cool to watch like some weirdo, all these bunch of weirdo entertainers, by the way, like all these bunch of weirdos with their face tattoos and all this stupid shit, and all of a sudden this is a proxy for being cool. It's like, oh, here's like some 19-year-old rapper whose ass I'd beat in 15 seconds if I so wished. He's got 19 face tattoos. He's cool now. Here's Post Malone. Look at this dweeb. Oh, he's got face tattoos. Oh, isn't he great? No, motherfuckers. None of this shit is cool. It's fucking weird and it's fucking whack. You know what I'm saying? Things that were cool back in the day are still cool today. It's just that we are inundated with a bunch of shit that isn't cool, but is presented as such. And this has led an entire generation and a half astray. Probably more than a generation and a half. But right now, it's about one and a half generations that have been led astray by this nonsense, right? It's like you turn on the TV and you see Pharrell, who is an accomplished and distinguished musician in his field. You see him, he's wearing like some weird coat dress hybrid, right? And you're like, why the fuck is this guy wearing a dress? Now that's cool, man. If you're a dude that likes to wear dresses, be my guest. Knock yourself out, motherfuckers. I don't give a fuck what you wear. You know what I'm saying? I don't even give a shit what Pharrell wears. My only concern is, why is he wearing the dress? Is it possible that Pharrell is gay or something and likes to wear dresses? Sure, that's obviously possible. I mean, just based on his style alone, you know? But it's also possible that it is part of this weird movement that I see, and I don't say movement because I don't think it's like a concerted effort or anything, but part of this weird trend, that's the word, motherfuckers, part of this weird trend where in order to become successful, you have to first debase yourself to zero, right? You have to embarrass yourself in order to gain any kind of exposure, right? This is a very weird phenomenon. I don't know who's behind it, and I don't know what the motivations are, because I can't think of what they could possibly be. But it's a trend that I've noticed, right? It's like, you see every action hero, right? Every action hero, before they try to go from just action hero to like a respectable A-lister, right? So you have like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Like when he first started acting, he didn't speak English. Nobody gave a fuck, you know? Nobody thought, oh, this guy's gonna be a huge star. What does he do? He makes that, what's it called, Kindergarten Cop. Remember that one? Great movie, motherfuckers, but whatever, right? He's this big-ass dude who's playing like the role of an idiot, basically, right? He's just out there, kids are like embarrassing him, you know, he's playing this goofball. Right? All of a sudden, Arnold is a goofball. And then after that, he does like another 15 action movies, and people are like, oh, he's great. Right? The Rock, same shit. The Rock comes out of WWE as one of the most charismatic and the most masculine characters ever. But for some reason, someone down the line decided, before you become a real action hero and go into Fast and Furious, you have to first put on a skirt and play the Tooth Fairy, jabroni. You have to do it. Shut the fuck up. You're lucky you're even getting this role. For some reason, they have to do these embarrassing things, right? Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking. There's nothing embarrassing about that. The Rock is really secure with his masculinity. That may be, motherfuckers. I'm not saying that The Rock is deeply traumatized for playing the Tooth Fairy. What I'm saying is that his character, the hard work that he's done, is damaged by this, right? Let's compare this to how actors behave after they have some clout, as the kids called it, right? Same thing, Vin Diesel, motherfuckers. Oh, here, now you have to do a comedy, The Pacifier, where you're babysitting a bunch of kids. You know what I'm saying? Then, fast forward a few years later, The Rock and Vin Diesel have contract disputes about which character beats up which character more. Do you see what I'm saying? So on one hand, The Rock is concerned about the character that he plays, basically, right? He doesn't want Hobbs, or whatever the fuck he's called, to get his ass beat by Vin Diesel's character, because it reflects poorly on future roles. Because it's like, oh, that's the guy who got his ass beat by Vin Diesel in that movie. I don't really believe him as a hero in this other movie, right? It's not an ego thing. It's protecting your character. It actually, ironically, comes, I think, from wrestling in a way, right? From wrestling and combat sports, where it's like, yo, I have to protect my brand, right? I'm supposed to be a tough guy. I can't be out there getting my ass kicked by Vin Diesel. However, before you become that tough guy, you have to wear a dress first, right? Now, what takes more of a hit on your character? Wearing a dress and playing a Tooth Fairy, or getting your ass beat by Vin Diesel in a movie, right? Think about that for a second, right? But for some reason, this has to happen, right? And it's also a very good way, it turns out, for people to rehabilitate themselves, right? That's another phenomenon that I noticed. If you want the public to accept you, you have to embarrass yourself. You have to present yourself as a pussy or as this wacky character. Look at Mike Tyson. Look at what they did to him, right? Mike Tyson. If anyone here remembers in the 80s and 90s, Mike Tyson was a savage, man. This guy invoked fear in everyone. You looked at him and you're like, this guy could eat me. He could kill me in 10 seconds if he wanted to, right? And Mike Tyson behaved that way because he was young and dumb, partially for sure, but also because of how he is, right? And how he was treated. So he behaved in a way where he was supposed to be this like super scary guy, and people started saying, "Oh, he's a bully. Oh, he's not very nice." And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean he's a bully? He's a combat athlete. Like, he's out there beating people up. That's his job, right? That's what, we value him for that. And then we also say, wait, you've gone too far, right? So then eventually he goes to prison. Huge scandal for a rape that he claims he didn't commit. Who the fuck knows? It seems weird to me. I don't know, right? But then he comes out of prison, becomes champion again, and then starts his downfall. Essentially, he eventually like gets out of his prime. He had an early prime. You know, his prime was like early 20s. So he got out of his prime, and then he started losing, and you know, now he's like kind of around. And for a while, he was like not in the public eye. Then The Hangover starts. Remember The Hangover? And he's just like this joke. Like, I don't know if it was Hangover 1 or 2, but he's just this comedy character, right? He's like, he went from Mike Tyson, the guy that would look at Bradley Cooper and say, "Get out of my face before I fucking murder you," to a guy who's like hanging out with him and Zach Galifianakis, right? He's hanging out with Zach Galifianakis as if they're equals or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of coolness, right? He's just out there hanging out with Zach Galifianakis as if it's normal, right? But that was all he needed to rehabilitate himself to the eyes of the mainstream audience, right? The mainstream audience is like, "Oh, Mike Tyson is friendly now. Ha hee hee, isn't that great?" Right? And this has carried on for many years for Mike Tyson, right? More and more, he just becomes more and more of a sissy, right? Now, I know that the real Mike Tyson is not a sissy. There ain't no way about it, motherfuckers. But the way that he presents himself is like this friendly guy, right? This guy like, "Oh, I'm approachable." You know? He went from a guy that would punch you in the face for like looking at him in the wrong way to a guy that now like he gets on a plane and he stops and the plane has to like wait 2 hours so everyone can take a picture with Mike Tyson. That's how nice he's become. And you're saying, no, he's trying to rehabilitate himself. And Mike Tyson's very smart, motherfuckers. He gets a lot of credit for other things, but he's a smart guy. He just never had an opportunity to show people how smart he was, in my opinion. So that's my point, right? It's like in order to become acceptable, you have to take down your level of threat. You have to be like, "Oh, I'm not threatening. I'm a cuck. I'm a pussy. Look at me. I can't hurt you. I'm the tooth fairy," right? You have to do these things, right? And that's fine if you want to do it. Go ahead. I mean, it makes you a sellout, in my opinion, in many ways. But go ahead and do it, you know? If you are someone that is strong, if you are someone that is confident, you say to yourself, "I'm not going to fucking be the tooth fairy." Now, I get it. You know, someone dangles over like a career worth hundreds of millions of dollars at your face, and they say, "Put on a dress," and you do it. I get it. You know what I'm saying? Do it. No one's saying don't do it. But we need to acknowledge that there's a difference between people that do it and people that don't do it. There are people that don't do it, motherfuckers. And these are people that immediately fall out of the public conscience because they don't get the opportunity to be cool because they didn't put on the dress that allows them later to become cool, right? Think about it. Honestly, think about every action hero that you like for the last 15, 20 years, right? How many of them have had to embarrass themselves at some point or another, right? How many of them have had to take a position or a role or anything like that where they come out looking like a bitch? You know, how many of them? Probably all of them, motherfuckers. I can't think of one. You know, once in a while you see an athlete will slip up, they'll do something fucked up or something. You know, something that's like toxically masculine or whatever the fuck they call it now. And then he has to apologize, do all the rounds, apologize to people that he offended for some reason. You know, he's like, yeah, he apologizes to the fans. Let the fans give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like Mike Vick, perfect example, Mike Vick, right? Now, I don't really give a shit about dogs, but I know a lot of people love dogs. So I'm not out here advocating for dog violence, you know? I think it's fucked up, you know, it's cruel, it's not cool, right? But let's not get ahead of ourselves either, you know what I'm saying? Mike Vick did what he did, and then Mike Vick was put through the ringer, right? All of a sudden, he's like apologizing to the fans. Like, I don't need his apology, I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? If he committed a crime, put him in prison, do what you want. He doesn't need to apologize to me. He didn't do anything to me, motherfucks. You know, but there's this weirdness, right? In order to rehabilitate yourself, you have to take this position of inferiority, right? You can't just confidently rehabilitate yourself and just say something like, "Yo, man, I fucked up, but deal with it, dude. I'm here to throw a ball around. I'm not here to like be a role model for your kids. Fucking find better role models, motherfuckers." But the problem is that we don't have these better role models. We don't have the Goldbergs, right? We don't have people that stand up for themselves and say, "No, motherfuckers, I ain't putting on a dress." Now, I don't know if Goldberg did that or not. But you understand what I'm getting at, motherfuckers. You know, people that don't sell out, that are like, "No, wait a second, I'm not taking." Perfect example in wrestling, motherfuckers. Sting, right? Sting has gone on record saying that he did not sign with WWE because he thought that he would be emasculated, basically, and he would be like tarnished, right? And he saw Booker T debut, and Booker T was like, "Yo, I'm here to debut," and The Rock is like, "Who in the blue hell are you?" Right? And just like that, he buried Booker T a little bit, and Sting was like, "Booker T is a multiple-time world champion. He shouldn't be treated this way, right? And that's why Sting didn't sign with the E in the beginning, right? That's why, because he was like, no, wait a second. I've worked hard to become Sting. I'm not letting you piss on that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sell out. And for a while, he went into obscurity until he resurfaced in TNA. You know, that's just how it works. There's people that are like that. There's people that are like, yo, I'm not going to like sell out, right? Like, just think of like Brock Lesnar or something, right? Can you ever see Brock Lesnar wearing a skirt and doing what The Rock did? Absolutely not. He's cut from a different cloth, motherfucks. He's cut from a different cloth than The Rock, right? There's plenty of people that are like that are like, yo, I'm not doing this shit. No, motherfucks. You have The Rock for that. You have John Cena for that. I'm not doing this goofy shit just to like make you happy, you know? And that's what I'm getting at, motherfucks. These are the people that are the real heroes. These are the people that we should emulate and look up to, you know? And think to ourselves, wow, I want to be like them. I want to have that conviction. I want to have that fortitude. But why? Why do that when it's so much easier to do the opposite, right? When society rewards the opposite, there's no need to do anything else, right? It's like, if anyone here has watched The Watchmen, right? The movie, or read the comic, right? Rorschach, which now apparently he's being retconned as like an asshole or something, but Rorschach is a character with a lot of principles. Go read the book, motherfuckers, or go watch the movie. Rorschach, in the end, has to decide whether his principles should be prostituted, right? And also, this will allow him to save himself, or whether he dies on a sword, right? And he chooses to die on a sword, right? And he tells Night Owl, the cuck, he says, Night Owl, the difference between me and you is I don't compromise, right? And that's the whole premise of the character, right? It's this dude who's like, no, there's right and there's wrong, motherfuckers, and I'm not doing the wrong thing because it's beneficial to me, right? That's the problem that we have. You know, you look at something like The Bachelor, motherfuckers. Yeah, that's right, bitches. The hater watches The Bachelorette once in a while. You know what I'm saying? You see, like, some broad, right? Some girl is out there. She's the Bachelorette, and they're like, here's 30 pussies. Here's 30 sissies. Pick one of them to be your husband, right? And she's like, oh, I picked sissy number 8, right? And they're like, oh, okay, here's sissy number 8. Marry him, right? And then 3 months later, you hear on, like, the news or something. You're like, oh, like, Bachelorette and sissy number 8 didn't work out. And I'm like, of course it didn't work out. How could they work out? He's a sissy. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, she's going to see through that horseshit, right? Same thing on the opposite side of the spectrum, right? You have, like, The Bachelor. They tell him, here's 30 whores. Pick one, make her your wife. He's like, I'll take whore number 9, right? And then they're like, oh, okay, here's whore number 9. You're married now, or whatever. You're engaged, right? A few months later, it's like the engagement broke off because at some point, the Bachelor and the girl as well were like, oh, wait a second. I'm dating a whore. She's dating a sissy. So what's the fucking point? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm getting at, cucks. That's what I'm getting at, right? It's like, these are presented as like the epitome of men and women. The Bachelorette, like every guy wants her, right? Or The Bachelor, every girl wants him. Fuck no. No. That's the problem. It's like you see all these weirdos on TV, and you see them get the girl, quote unquote, and you're like, I want to get the girl. I'm going to emulate this guy. Oh, I want to get Rachel, so I'm going to act like Ross. Shut the fuck up with that horse shit. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. That's the main problem with society is exactly that. Stripping away our heroes and presenting a Ross, right? Or a Bachelor as like the new hero. And people are like, well, I did everything the Bachelor did. How come it didn't work out for me? Because in real life, it doesn't work out for the Bachelor either, motherfucks. In real life, Ross doesn't end up with Rachel. Ross is in a closet whacking it. You know what I'm saying? That's what Ross is doing right now in the real world, motherfucks. So that's what I'm getting at. We need heroes, and we need to bring back the qualities that make people great. We need to run the world like a high school, basically, right? Where it's like, yo, if you're awesome, we reward that. And if you're not awesome, we look at you and we say, you know what? I think you can. We don't bully you. We don't beat you. We just think we just say to you, hey, man, I think you can do better. If you want to, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do so. If you don't want to, that's fine. You know? But you're not going to be treated as a hero when you've done nothing heroic. You're not going to be treated as cool when you've done nothing cool. You're not going to be treated as like an icon because you wore a dress, right? No, you need to do something that's actually like an achievement, right? Just do something where people are like, wow, the thing that you did makes me want to be like you. Not one person in this world probably saw Tooth Fairy and thought to themselves, wow, The Rock wore a dress. I want to be just like him. But a lot of people, motherfuckers, saw, I don't know, Kickboxer starring Van Damme and thought, man, Van Damme got revenge for his brother's like injury and like the injustices that happened to his brother and his friends by beating the shit out of the bad guy. I want to be like him. Everyone thought that shit. That's what makes a good movie. Everyone roots for justice. There's nothing more marketable than people trying to achieve justice or freedom or all these values that we hold dear and near to our hearts, right? Why do you think all these movies that are about that are successful, right? Why do you think James Bond is successful? Same shit. It's like, yo, man, some bad guy's doing some bad guy shit. We need someone to stop it. Who's gonna do it? James Bond, right? And people will cheer for him. They root for him because they're like, wow, this guy's an awesome dude, number one, and he's trying to do the right thing. He's performing justice. And he's not trying to like get over basically by putting on a dress. No, he's confident, he's smooth, and he's out there kicking ass and saving the world, motherfuckers. I don't even like James Bond, but I gotta give him props. You know what I'm saying? That's why people like these things. That's why people like the Super Bowl winning quarterback, because it's a guy who's out there and he's pretty much saying to you, I don't want to be famous for any reason other than throwing this ball well, right? You'll judge whether I'm great or not depending on how well I throw this ball. And if I throw it better than everyone else and I win the Super Bowl, then guess what, motherfuckers? I have earned that shit. I have earned it. Imagine if instead, like, compare that to some quarterback being like, I'm not very good, but I think I'm going to wear a dress and stand out, right? That's what I'm getting at, motherfuckers. We are valuing the wrong things, you know? And there's really not much more to say about that in this culture rant number 1, masculinity and femininity, except for this. The same way that men have to debase themselves, the same way that men can get over by humiliating themselves, women can do so by whoring themselves out. This is the new normal. I mean, again, these things have existed for a long time, but they're becoming more and more mainstream. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you guys a quick story. This person that the hater knew went to a bar in a different country, but an Anglophone country. I think it was like New Zealand or some shit like that, right? And they went to a bar. There's a lot of young people at the bar. And the bar had a contest, right? They picked up 3 guys and 3 girls, and they said to them, they said, here you go, fam. Let me tell you how you're going to win this contest. The guy has to do something embarrassing, and the girl has to do something whorish. They didn't put it quite in those terms, but that's what happened. It was like a contest where like the winner is determined by popularity, right? By people clapping and cheering for you. And the hater's acquaintance, if you will, told the hater. The 3 girls all started being whores, and the 3 guys all started embarrassing themselves because they knew that was the way that they would win. Guys try to get girls by being funny, which often is conflated with embarrassing yourself, right? And girls try to get guys by being skanks sometimes. And when these people find each other, it might work out for a little bit, but eventually the girl will look at the guy and will say, you are a guy whose entire personality hinges on self-deprecation. And the guy will look at the girl and he will think, you are a tramp. You see what I'm getting at, motherfuckers? Don't be those people. Be confident and be happy, motherfuckers. Things are only going to get worse for the short term, but eventually all these things normalize themselves. All you need is one hero, motherfuckers. Be that hero. And with that being said, Culture Rant 1 is in the books, motherfuckers.